I'm Pinch Vincent. I fly A-10s here at Nellis Air Force Base. So at Nellis, I'm a weapons school instructor, so I teach over the 66 WIPs. We're in charge of turning A-10 instructors into weapons officers. The weapons school does an integration phase at the end of the course where all of the weapons schools come together and perform missions together. So up until this point, we've been kind of separate, doing our own thing in our own lanes. And for the last month or so of the course, we execute missions as realistic as we can out on the knitter with all the players there, with all of their capabilities and live assets so that the students can get as close to real doing their missions as they can. Right now we have 2 A-10 students and 6 JTAC students. Obviously we do a lot of casts, so there are some bulls that are quite large and long that we get the JTAC and the A-10 students into doing casts. The A-10 students will also do air interdiction. They'll do a lot of combat search and rescue throughout all of the missions that the rest of the WIPs are doing. And then we're doing some 5th gen support in the strategic tacticals. We're trying to push forward to be able to support 5th gen operations with MALD, with JASM, and any other way that we can find within kind of the budgetary constraints that everybody has to do, and understanding that like nobody wants to spend billions of dollars on the A-10, but if we can find these ways to add capability and make people more survivable and more effective, then we're going to do that as best as we can. The whole thing kind of started when General Brown took over and he put out his Accelerate, Change, or Lose memo that said, hey guys, we need to start looking at problems from a different set. We need to find ways that we can contribute to get after this kind of pure competition. And a lot of those mission sets had been previously, people just assumed it wasn't really an A-10 mission. And the A-10 community was the same way for years and years because we were doing constant deployments. Guys were always in Iraq or Syria or Afghanistan or flying out of Turkey or doing all of that stuff. We didn't really have time to kind of take a look inward and figure out, man, how do we contribute to this kind of high-end pure fight outside of the close air support that we typically have trained to doing. We got a little bit of break and we got kind of the right guys in the room and started kind of spitballing, hey, this is what we think it's going to look like. We're fortunate to be here at Nellis where we can just walk across the street and talk to everybody from different platforms that's going to be executing these missions and said, hey man, what do you guys need to help? One of the things that we found that you're always going to need more of is standoff weapons. And the A-10 turns out is like a pretty good candidate to provide standoff weapons because we have a lot of hard points. We can carry a lot of these things. And if you combine that with kind of the agile combat operations that we've been training to and the A-10's kind of forward basing capabilities and the ability to operate out of austere locations with a limited maintenance footprint and not a lot of support, it made a lot of sense. So we took a look at the standoff weapon options that were out there. And you got to be realistic whenever you're looking at what you're going to ask to upgrade an airplane because like, it's a zero-sum game, right? Dollars have to come from somewhere. The effort of people integrating weapons or capabilities onto an airframe has to come away from something. And so we didn't want to look for anything that was going to be like brand new or was going to need like people to spend money or time or effort on something that was specific to the A-10. And we didn't want to look at anything that was going to be like a long time horizon because I don't know what the future of the A-10 is going to look like. I don't think anybody out there has a solid answer on what that's going to be. And I think the Air Force has like a good answer for what they want that pure fight to look like in 10, 15 years. So we wanted to look at a short time horizon, something that was going to be cheap, easily integrated, and could have kind of an immediate impact. MALD was the easy button, to be honest with you. It requires no software integration with the A-10, so we can just hang it up and drop it and it works. And then because it's lightweight, to be able to bring it to the fight, you just need lots of stations, which is what the A-10 has. So we're not limited because of the weight, because it's a lightweight weapon. And we've got 10 pylons that I can hang MALD on in order to support. So we just started running with it. We took it to the A-10 community first to try and get them kind of on board with this like mindset shift of like, hey guys, we're not going away from the primary mission. We're still here to do close air support. We're still here to do combat search and rescue. But here's something that we can do before those missions are viable, when we're there waiting for kind of our turn to do our primary mission to help the 5th gen guys and to help the 4th+ gen dudes do their missions effectively and make them all more survivable and more capable. And they have kind of taken that and run with it. And the SPO office up at Hill has been fantastic, working through that, trying to make this thing happen kind of on the short term, because everybody understands that like the nature of this pure competition is you're going to go to war with what you've got. And we need what we've got to be as capable as possible, and this is one of the ways the A-10 can help. We're going to be able to carry 16 if we do a full MALD loadout. which is fantastic. That's the same number that the B-52 can carry. The F-16 can carry 4, so you're getting a 4 ships worth of F-16s out of every single A-10 that's carrying mauled. And what it does is primarily like deception and saturation and stimulation of an enemy IADS. And so we can launch that to go perform like pre-planned maneuvers so that an enemy that's looking at that has to sort through all of the mauled that's flying out there and respond to that to figure out, is this really an attack or is this some kind of deception or decoy? And all of that buys time and survivability for the guys that are going to be out there in the mez flying F-35s or B-2s or F-15s or whatever it may be. We're just trying to make that targeting problem more complicated for the enemy so that they have to work harder to do their job and potentially buy our guys time to be able to get their jobs done. And you can use it for really any mission set that there's going to be a air defense up against. So seed pushes, air interdiction pushes, we're looking at incorporating it into the CSAR mission to help keep the rescue vehicle survivable. There's lots of applications to be able to stimulate and then deceive and decoy an enemy IADS. So we're getting SDB integrated on the A-10 here shortly. The developmental test guys have already flown with it. I think the operational test guys are getting that software. We'll start doing live drops here this summer sometime. And then that will be out to the CAF hopefully by the end of the year to next year, sometime like that. It's a small diameter bomb. Weighs a lot less than the other bombs that we carry, but the benefit is that you can put 4 of them on each pylon. And we think we're going to be able to carry somewhere between 4 and 6 of those brews. So we're looking at carrying 16 to 24 SDB on every A-10 that takes off, with stations to spare, so we can still carry other weapons that we need to do the missions that we're looking at. So we're flying with the Hobbit helmets now, which are pretty good. So you get a monocle that sits over your right eye, and then anything that's going to be displayed on our tactical awareness display in the jet is going to be displayed over the rail now, and it will look like it's on the ground where it's supposed to be within a couple of mils, which is nice. We can also use it to cue the targeting pod, so if you're looking out over the rail and you can see smoke or targets moving, you can just with one quick button push have the targeting pod go straight to that so I can get a closer look or put weapons down on there. And then anything, like I said, that displays on my map, I'll also see over there. So if I've got friendlies plotted and we've got targets that are moving, like I can now look out and I can see friendly symbols where those guys are supposed to be and try to kind of cue my eyes into that area to where I can pick them up visually and then just maintain that awareness with where things are on the ground. It's extremely helpful for that. So we're racing ahead with mauled, and then this summer as we go through our kind of upgrade meetings and prioritization and start pushing things towards ACC for approval, we're going to be looking at integrating JASM on the aircraft as well. We're ironing out the tactics for how to integrate in the 5th gen support realm with mauled, and then we're kind of eagerly waiting for SDB, and then otherwise we're just making sure that the students that we're kicking out are the best experts that the Air Force has in close air support and combat search and rescue. Because we have this cadre of people who have spent their entire professional careers learning how to do close air support and learning how to do combat search and rescue, and that's all we focus on. We've got this knowledge base and this experience base to draw on that's going to pay dividends in any conflict that you get into, whether it's fighting counterinsurgency or whether it's fighting some kind of high-end fight.